Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about some disappointing rookies. You may be having some rookie regret. You felt confident going into your rookie drafts. You selected these players thinking they could change your dynasty teams. And honestly, their seasons were quite unproductive. So should you be panicking or should you be practicing patience? We're here to discuss. All right, Joe. Some of these guys were players that you liked. Some of these guys were players that I liked. That's just how it goes. You can never for sure be 100% accurate as to which of these rookies are going to be productive. Now, mind you, it's just their first season. So in Dynasty, it's the long haul. So we're playing the long game. But, maybe we should be a little concerned and having some rookie regret with some of these picks. So let's talk about the first one here. It's going to be wide receiver Matthew Golden of the Green Bay Packers. The Packers faithful, go Pack go, was so excited that they finally drafted a receiver in the first round after many, many, many years of wishing that they did when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. Well, maybe the hype got to their head because the Cheeseheads decided to draft a wide receiver in Green Bay to get the fans all excited. The 23rd pick did not look so good. In 14 games played, he had 44 targets, 29 catches, 361 receiving yards, 0, a big donut for the touchdowns, and 16 first downs. Like I said, Joe, pretty lackluster for Mr. Matthew Golden. Would you be practicing patience or panic here if you're a dynasty manager of one Matthew Golden?
Yeah, you know what? I think if I were to have him, I think I would be panicking. Now, Matthew Golden is not a guy that I was excited about coming in, especially where he went, where he got drafted by the Green Bay Packers. I really wasn't excited for him to go to that offense where they already had an abundance of wide receivers. Plus, as we've seen with Christian Watson coming back, he is their deep threat guy. I mean, that's what Matthew Golden was coming in as an absolute burner, had that impressive 40 time, which really skyrocketed his draft capital in the first place. But Christian Watson was their deep threat guy already. They got abundance. Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks already on there. Just a crowded receiver room. So that was my main concern, was like, how is Jordan Love going to be able to distribute to all these different guys? Plus, maybe you had Tucker Kraft in this offense too before he goes and tears his ACL. So just another weapon to take targets and opportunities away from Golden. We have seen a little bit of flashes, and this is a season 2 where Jaden Reed goes down early in the season, misses a bunch of games, and they manufacture touches for Jaden Reed, and they were, reassuring him, hey, Jaden Reed, you're still going to be our number one guy despite this draft pick of Matthew Golden. But yeah, I'd like to see, if you're a Matthew Golden owner, you'd like to see this wide receiver room get shaken up a bit, and lose a few guys in this rotation so Matthew Golden gets involved more. I'm just not so sure, with that wide receiver room in this offense. Especially there's rumors, do they go ahead and change out Matt LaFleur as coach? I believe his contract is up, and people are saying he's just trying to leverage it to get more money and opportunities. But if they move on from him, totally different looking offense as well. So yeah, that's why I'd be kind of hitting the panic button after 1 year with Matthew Golden here.
That would be the curveball situation if LaFleur does get fired. I'm going to tell you to practice patience. I'm going to disagree with you on this one, Joe. Probably no surprise because I liked Golden more than you did heading into the draft cycle. But honestly, my reason being is because I do think that the longevity is there for Golden in this offense. Because at the end of the day, he's 22 years old. He's going to have 3 years left on his contract plus the 5th-year option. Romeo Doubs is a free agent next year. He's been very disgruntled with the team for a long time, getting suspended and what have you. I think Doubs is good as gone. He's not going to be coming back to the Packers, and I don't see them re-signing him. So after that, you've got Christian Watson, who you mentioned, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks, but they're all on 1-year contracts. So it's like, at the end of the day, once those contracts expire, are they all going to be sticking around or are they going to be leaving? I think Watson's probably the guy I'm most confident in. Like you said, that 1-year extension, he came back sooner than I thought, and he's played really well coming off the ACL. I wasn't expecting that. I don't think many were. So that could change things, but I think he's young. I think there's still time for him to develop into the offense. So I'm not as concerned. I think if I see this in year 2, now I'm getting a little bit more concerned. It could be, more of a stinker, but 0 touchdowns definitely doesn't look.
Yeah. I mean, he had his chances. They tried to hit some deep balls to him early on in the season, just didn't pan out. But one of the concerning things too is it just I feel like never really saw a true plan for Matthew Golden in this offense for him to really get involved or even highlighted. Maybe there's a couple of games of late. I feel like in that Bears shootout game, I feel like he was getting a little bit more involved late. Maybe it's just the rookie factor getting used to the offense. And I know Matt LaFleur's offense probably isn't an easy one to just get acclimated. Um, and thrown into. So maybe that's the learning curve. But yeah, I don't know. It is a good thing to practice patient for the most of the time, but it is tough when you see this guy get drafted in the first round. Packers don't take first round wide receivers, and you think there's something special about this guy. It's going to be different, and he throws out a stinker in his first year. All right. So our next player, we're going to stick at the wide receiver position. Going to go with rookie wide receiver / cornerback, and that's Travis Hunter with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Disappointing in the fact that he had an injury shortened season, played 7 games. In those 7 games, he had 45 targets, 28 receptions, 298 yards, 1 touchdown, 12 first downs mixed in there as well. What's interesting about Travis Hunter, I think, I'd be practicing patience for him. I think with Liam Cohen and this Jacksonville Jaguars team, they took him. Obviously, they traded up, went ahead and made sure this was their guy and got him. And they said they were focusing him more to the wide receiver position than the corner position as well. So I do think they see him as wide receiver. The one thing that kind of throws a wrinkle in that is, them trading and extending Jacoby Myers. But I almost wonder, after this, what happens with Brian Thomas Jr.? He had such a disappointing year. Did they try to trade him once Travis Hunter's fully healthy? So I still think, despite the Jacoby Myers thing, they're going to have a role in Travis Hunter in this offense. Trevor Lawrence looking like Liam Cohen's worked some magic. He's looking a lot better. So you got to feel good about the future of this Jacksonville Jaguars offense and why I wouldn't be too panicky or disgruntled with the shortened rookie season with Travis Hunter here.
All right, well, it looks like you and I got a little opposite day going on. I'm slightly panicking.
Okay.
It's not like 10 out of 10 panic level, but I'm slightly panicking, and you kind of alluded to some of the points. The Jacoby Myers trade and then extension, to me, Myers is becoming more of a staple of the offense. And honestly, it's been pretty impressive to see how he's performed since coming to Jacksonville, because a lot of times when a player gets traded to a new team, it's difficult for them to really acclimate and learn the playbook. So to me, for him to be able to do that, I'm like, okay, this bodes well for him going forward. So I'd say, okay, Myers is a lock. Parker Washington, although in maybe more of a situational role, he's kind of stepped up to the plate. He's looking really good. He'll have 1 year left on his contract, so he's in the mix. And then you mentioned Brian Thomas, who has been a disappointment. They said that he's had, what was it, a hand or a wrist injury or whatever that
Wrist.
maybe has been affecting him. I don't know. Like, to me, I don't really like where things stand with Hunter as far as how many he was already getting situational snaps as it was. I think he could primarily go back to being a corner because their secondary is not all that good. I was encouraged. The one thing about Hunter was before he unexpectedly went on IR for the season, he had a great game against the Rams for 8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown and 14 targets. So I feel like we were on the cusp of him possibly really starting to break out. This was before Jacksonville really became this possible sleeper dark horse team that they've become. So maybe this Myers trade doesn't happen if Hunter, was healthy and was able to go for the rest of the regular season. So I'm slightly panicking. Tell me I'm nuts here. I would not be surprised. What I understand is Gladstone, the GM, that's his name, right? Gladstone?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think he's not afraid to make moves and trades. I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Thomas is sent packing in the offseason.
Yeah. I wouldn't be either. Just the fact that, and I could see Brian Thomas Jr. wanting to kind of get out of town as well and maybe start over. Just hasn't seemed to, nothing's really gone right for him this year. I mean, the wrist injury, I think really hurt him. Just not couldn't hang on to the ball, dropped a lot of passes. And then, but even, we always talked about it too, heading into this season it wasn't Trevor Lawrence that he had a good rapport with and got him the fantasy superstar. It was Mac Jones who really unlocked him and created that whole situation, created this buzz and excitement for Brian Thomas Jr. So for whatever reason, him and Trevor Lawrence just never really been on the same page. So I do think it'd be the best for, possibly the Jaguars and also Brian Thomas Jr. just to, wipe the slate clean and move on and trade him to a different team.
All right, so next guy we're going to be talking about here is a guy that I was against all the way. And Joe was trying to tell me I was nuts, but I didn't like him. That's going to be running back Kaleb Johnson of Pittsburgh. I'll be honest with you, Joe. I didn't think he was going to be good. I didn't think he was going to be this bad. And for some leagues, if you're in a 12-team league, even in our 16-team league, Kaleb Johnson ended up being a first-round pick. And it just so happens that team also drafted Matthew Golden in the first round. So they're really struggling. I'm not gonna mention who they are. But it's not looking so good. But anyways, when it comes to Kaleb Johnson, he's played in 10 games, 28 carries, 69 yards, and 0 touchdowns. I mean, he hasn't even eclipsed over 100 yards. I mean, this is just brutal. I mean, he was a third-round pick running back. Running backs tend to be, especially in dynasty leagues, they tend to be pushed up, right? We know this because the running back demand is so high, the supply is so low that as a result, just because of scarcity, they're going to be pushed way up, even though they shouldn't be. And this was going to be a historical running back class. So people are like, oh, he's in the mix, so I got to have him. And he played well in Iowa. He did really well in that zone-based scheme. And many thought, based on being in Pittsburgh, he was going to follow through with that. I think the shocker part was no one saw Kenneth Gainwell being as productive as he was. I mean, he was just a rotational running back in Philadelphia. No one saw that coming. Warren, I saw him having a bigger impact with Najee Harris no longer there, and we saw what Jalen Warren was able to do. I'm in an all-time panic, 10 out of 10. I already didn't like Kaleb Johnson from the beginning. But honestly, the best thing for him might be that if Mike Tomlin and that it's not going to happen, but if the Steelers clean house and they get rid of Arthur Smith, thank you, Mike Tomlin, like he just needs a fresh start after that fumble or whatever and that special teams things and what was it causing a touchdown. Like I think he's been the doghouse ever since.
Yeah, it sure seems like he has been, based on that special teams blunder, and it was just, rookie mistake. He was kind of. There was no doubt after that fumble and the blunder on special teams, I feel like it was just, like you mentioned, put in the doghouse. His opportunities went way down. Not that he was getting a ton of opportunities before that, but any that he was getting pretty much went out the window for a few weeks. So much so that this past game, they make him healthy and active. But I think, look, he's a young
You're
running back.
You're going to practice patience here?
I think you got to practice patience with him.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, look, I stand by it. I still liked Kaleb Johnson, I think, for the same reasons you liked him before. Maybe he just needs to get experience in the NFL. I honestly think like it was, the running system for the Steelers was literally going to be a perfect match for Kaleb Johnson in this offense. Like you said, nobody saw Kenneth Gainwell coming. We'll see, do they decide to retain him or not in the offseason? I would think they probably do bring him back, which wouldn't be the best for Kaleb Johnson, obviously. But I don't know. I'm not ready. I don't think you can give up on a rookie running back like that. I mean, he just turned 22 years old. He's still got some youth on his side, and maybe he learns from this rookie season and comes back more motivated and is a better self next season.
Look at Joe standing on business. He's not moving a needle.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, the scarcity is already there of running backs, especially in Dynasty. That's what you mentioned. They get pushed up, and here was an example of Kaleb Johnson getting pushed up now. I'm sure whoever drafted him in the first round of the league is obviously regretting that, but I do think I don't think you can just give up on him based on a disappointed rookie season.
The one thing I will say is that with him, if let's say you were panicking like me at a sky high limit, what are you going to do about him? You're not going to cut him. If you traded him, you would get pennies on a dollar. So you're stuck with him.
Well, I mean, especially in a salary and contract league like in our league. I mean, he's a fully guaranteed player in the first round. I mean, you'd have to eat up a lot of a decent amount of dead cap to move him. So, I mean, like you said, I mean, you have no choice but to be patient and hold him at this point.
I don't even know what you would call that. That's like the stinky cheese. Nobody wants to be around that.
Yeah, I mean. Depending, my team needs a running back so bad. I don't know. Maybe that team would want to trade him to me, but
you're nuts. Go for it.
They'd have to eat the dead cap, though.
Put your money where your mouth is. He has to eat the signing bonus anyway, so you can.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got to eat the signing bonus. Yeah, it'd be a friendly deal for me. I mean, maybe I will, Steve. Maybe I'll practice patience with Kaleb Johnson on my roster. My running backs are absolutely terrible, so I could do any worse. All right, so moving on here. Next player is going to be tight end Elijah Arroyo with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, This was another guy I was pretty excited about in the pre-draft process. Just, explosive athlete at the tight end position, made a bunch of plays in Miami. Thought he was going to be more of a focal point of the Seattle offense, but it really just hasn't panned out for him. And honestly, the next step that AJ Barner has taken kind of just overshadowed Elijah Arroyo and kind of just blocked him in this rookie season here. But he's played in 13 games. He had 26 targets, 15 receptions, 179 yards, does have a touchdown. But, with the tight end position, we know it's tough for these rookies to come out and perform in their rookie year. Here's another guy I'm not panicking on. I think you should just practice patience. Even as we've seen, AJ Barner didn't really do anything in his rookie year either with the Seahawks. Then all of a sudden, coaching change in the offense. He's more of a focal point. So maybe we see Elijah Arroyo, in his second year or maybe even his third year, as it does take a little bit for tight ends to acclimate to the NFL, gets more involved and gets his opportunity at some point.
See, I'm going to slightly panic on this one. I disagree with you here. I think at the end of the day, A.J. Barner had a fantastic season. I understand what you're saying that, he didn't do anything in his rookie year, but he had 52 catches, 719 yards, and 16 touchdowns. Or sorry, 16 touchdowns. I'm sorry. Say, if it was 16 touchdowns, Arroyo would be absolutely roasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 6 touchdowns. But still, he did very, very well. And the reality is he still has 2 more years left on his contract. I don't think Arroyo, even if Arroyo becomes a factor, it's going to be a shared tight end room. It's going to be both men. And I believe, you tell me if I'm wrong on this, you'll know because I believe Barner was a Michigan guy. Um, he's a
Yeah,
good, he's,
for 1 year. He
okay.
transferred over, I believe, from Indiana.
He's a solid blocker, though.
Yeah. Yeah, he blocks, and well, that's Michigan basically used him mainly to block. That's why he wasn't on many teams' radar as far as he had underrated receiving skills just because Michigan primarily used him as a blocker as they were, run first offense.
Yeah, so for me, it's like I think he's going to stay on the field more often than Arroyo. Arroyo is just purely a receiving tight end.
I just wonder too, maybe if they don't have Cooper Kupp, do they ever put Elijah Arroyo in a situation where maybe he could play more so that slot position than more of that tight end role? Because, yeah, you're right. I mean, they didn't bring Elijah Arroyo in to block. They brought him in there to be a receiving threat. Just haven't quite seen it.
It just goes to show, and honestly, just like the NFL draft, one pick could really change your outlook. Because I remember even in our rookie draft, you and I, you were on the clock and you were looking to pick, and you knew you were going to pick a tight end, and you were in between him and Harold Fannin.
Yep.
And what a drastic difference that was. I mean, think if he would have picked Arroyo versus Fannin, I mean, that's just night and day.
Yeah. I would have been kicking myself, but decided to kind of just go back on what I believed in. Honestly, just go ahead and pick Fannin because even though he played at the small school, he played extremely well with Bowling Green, and just the opportunity there. And Njoku's future is uncertain with the Browns there. So I am glad I went in Fannin, but that is a good point though. Just how different one pick could really, make your roster and how your outlook of your team looks.
Well, I mean, you see even times where you see like, oh, well, if the Bills didn't take Keon Coleman and the Chiefs didn't take Xavier Worthy and they took Lad McConkey, what would have happened? Similar stuff like that, All right, our last guy here is going to be wide receiver Tre Harris of the LA Chargers. In 17 games, he had 43 targets, 30 catches, 324 yards, and 1 touchdown. Drafted in the late second round out of Ole Miss. That converted. He was a quarterback converted to wide receiver. A lot of buzz around him in the preseason. I feel like he could really step up for the Chargers. But, with the emergence of Quentin Johnston, I think that was really the shakeup that people were not expecting. He played a pivotal role for the Chargers this season, and honestly outshined even Lad McConkey at times. So, it's one of those things where it's like, what do you do with Tre Harris? I'll hold off on my answer initially here, Joe. What would you say about Tre Harris?
Interesting. I'm not panicking on Tre Harris. I think also one thing I was excited about Tre Harris, but then the late signing of Keenan Allen really kind of also dampered my excitement on Tre Harris, and just because felt like just another mouth to feed and it lessened his opportunities. But to your point, I wasn't expecting the Quentin Johnston breakout year either. I don't think anyone really was. Everyone is looking at Lad McConkey and then kind of like who else was going to step up. So I'm not ready to hit the panic button quite yet on Tre Harris. We'll see once Keenan Allen, see what they do with Keenan Allen. Do they bring him back? Does Keenan Allen still want to continue to play football at this point? Maybe he decides to retire. Tre Harris, we have seen moments. He's got that ability deep down the field to make some plays, and really, we've seen Lad McConkey kind of take a step back, and I think Quentin Johnson's been inconsistent. I do think Tre Harris, there's a spot for him to just really step up and fill a needed role of the offense. I believe I heard Keenan Allen led the Chargers in receiving this year, which is kind of crazy at his age, and especially how good Quentin Johnston was. But so if he's gone, then it really would make me more excited for Tre Harris as I was prior to that signing.
So Lad McConkey actually led the Chargers in receiving. He had 789. Keenan Allen had 777.
Maybe receptions?
And Johnston had 735. Yes, Keenan Allen had 81 receptions to Lad McConkey's 66 and Quentin Johnston's 51.
That's what it was.
And then Quentin Johnston had 8 touchdowns to Lad McConkey's 6 to Keenan Allen's 4. But ultimately, I guess we had to agree at some point in this episode. I do agree with you here. I would practice patience with Tre Harris. I think a lot of people were expecting him to have this huge role, like you said, but then Keenan Allen got signed. We weren't expecting that to happen. And then once it did, kind of allowed him to take the back seat, although people still drafted him because they thought they basically were leaving Quentin Johnston in the scrap pile. But, all of a sudden, he emerged. He couldn't catch a ball, and all of a sudden, now he could. Now he figured out how he could. So I do think too, like the offensive line, they had a lot of injuries, with Joel and some other key offensive line injuries that hasn't allowed for Herbert, to really have time to be able to do better in this passing offense. They lost O'Marion Hampton. Even Herbert, has been hurt with his hand. So they've had a lot of. It's amazing, honestly, what the Chargers have been able to do considering all the injuries that they've suffered and how they've been able to overcome, to be honest, in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the fact that they still made the playoffs. They, like you mentioned, the offensive line issues. I mean, they basically to lose both of their tackles, and then even the fill-ins. I feel like
That's right. They lost Slater too.
Yeah, I believe they had injuries at guard as well. I mean, just they've had so many different offensive line combinations. Herbert's been injured, playing with the broken hand that he has, his non-throwing hand, but just everything that they've gone to, and so is just how resilient they are, and the fact that they just, don't make any excuses and go out there and compete, and they're still in the playoffs, which is pretty impressive. It'll be interesting to see. I think the future for Tre Harris, Quentin Johnston, is set to become a free agent, and not.
Well, it depends if they pick the 5th-year option. I think they're going to pick it up.
Based on this year, it's possible. But I
would think they're gonna. If they don't, then he's a free agent
after
in 2027. If not, he's a free agent in 2028. I think they'll pick it up.
You think they'll pick it up?
I do, yeah.
I was going to say, if they don't pick it up, then he's only got 1 year left.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do pick it up. I mean, other than this year, where he really broke out, he's been kind of disappointing in LA. But time will tell here.
It's a hefty price tag, so it's possible that they don't. But even if they don't, I could see them extending him regardless.
Yeah, that is true. But it's like, then why'd you go ahead and draft Tre Harris then if you're doing all this other stuff?
Yeah, teams do crazy things, Joe.
Yeah, they really do. I guess they're just trying to make the best pick available, and he's still a talented guy, and injuries do happen, especially with Johnston. He's far from a guy that's been able to stay healthy as well.
See, you're convincing yourself.
Yeah, no, it's not hard to do.
So that does it for this episode. We went through some Dynasty rookies that more than likely broke your team, and we talked about whether you should panic or have patience with them. Go ahead and put your comments below. Share your thoughts. Are you panicking? Are you having patience? Maybe you have or maybe you have an engaged league that people are reaching out to you about maybe doing a trade. If you want some, a third opinion or second opinion, go ahead and provide your thoughts. We're happy to provide our insight in what we would do. Although, as you see, you may have some differing opinions between Joe and I here. If you haven't done so already, check out our most recent episode. We've been covering our Dynasty Salary Cap League, giving you a behind-the-scenes look, and we were able to crown our most recent champion. And we've been doing this league for 7 years, and we have not had a repeat winner. 16-team league, pretty impressive. You want to check that out. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.